Also, chat, make sure you don't put in the whole, like, plastic container into the microwave, because we had someone do that in the lab and the whole container melted, and that was a whole thing.
These or science-y sounding supplements. This antioxidant craze goes back a long time to the 80s and early 90s when some early research suggested antioxidants could maybe protect against certain diseases. Food and supplement companies jumped on that research and have been touting the benefits of antioxidants ever since. But the follow-up research investigating those benefits has actually been pretty inconsistent, and scientists aren't totally sure why yet. Health food commercials will give you the impression that an antioxidant is a thing, a healthy thing you should be eating and drinking. But chemically, the word antioxidant is actually more of an adjective than a noun. It describes a range of chemicals and enzymes that can neutralize free radicals, compounds with single unpaired electrons. Free radicals can cause real havoc in our cells, altering DNA, damaging the proteins our cells need to function, and messing with the sophisticated membranes holding everything together. And these free radicals can come from practically anywhere, from the food we eat to the air we breathe. Even sunlight can produce free radicals in our bodies. Now, our cells try to contain them by employing a large network of antioxidant chemicals and enzymes to deactivate the different types of free radicals our bodies encounter. But when the amount of free radicals being produced outpaces the rate at which our bodies can quench them, our cells enter a state known as oxidation.
What do you think, Big Gamey? I enjoy it. I think it's silly. All right, so antioxidants, are they good in this? Like, and not, this isn't just referring to the honey. Are they good or are they bad in general? There's been a lot of experiments where even in flies, they've been fed antioxidants to see if it'll extend lifespan, yes or no. And it has very weird context-specific results. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. It seems like what the flies are originally fed really makes a big difference, and so it's kind of questionable. But they found this very interesting antioxidant inside of the honey that's only been identified in this particular kind of honey.
Unfortunately, slipping into a bubble bath and decompressing with an episode of Queer Eye is not a viable way for our cells to de-stress, though that does work for my mind. And if our cells stay oxidatively stressed for long periods of time, there can be serious health consequences. In the 80s and 90s, scientists started gathering evidence that cancer, heart and neurodegenerative diseases, the negative side effects from aging could all be linked to damage from oxidative stress, at least in part. Research during that time also found that a Mediterranean diet, which is rich in antioxidants, was associated with a lower incidence of those diseases. Scientists put two and two together and developed the hypothesis that supplementing people's diets with antioxidants might prevent or even reverse the problems associated with these diseases.
Smikes, all these human, they're called the meta-analysis. It's not a real analysis because you can't actually test, right? You're just looking at, okay, this group of people looks like this is what they eat, and they have less incidence of cancer. Ipso facto, the cancer is from that, or less cancer from that. That's not necessarily true, right? Yes, these are the superfoods. Yes. In certain Asian country diets, there's been some identified as well. There's also the certain like antioxidant pills that you can take. The one of the really big ones that they keep going back and forth on is resveratrol, which is a dietary supplement, but it's also one of the active ingredients in red wine that is supposed to be that's the positive component of red wine, is the resveratrol, which is supposed to be another antioxidant. And that they keep jumping back and forth on. Should you have a glass of red wine every day? Should you not? The data keeps changing, but because it's complicated. It's squishy, Smikes. It's squishy.
It's an elegant idea, but unfortunately, it's been difficult to find support for. Researchers began by looking at how supplementing single antioxidant chemicals would affect cells grown in test tubes and saw some promising results. For example, studies showed that chemicals like vitamin E could successfully act as antioxidants to reduce damage from oxidative stress in cell membranes. But when they tried to extend the benefits that they saw in cell cultures to randomized clinical trials with real humans taking those same antioxidants, they found inconsistent effects.
And in part, it's because people are very, very different than a dish of cells, where the whole dish of cells are identical. They're having the same media, so the same food given to them. They have the same daylight cycle. They have cells in cell culture have a certain percentage of carbon dioxide they are given, a certain percentage of oxygen. It's all standardized and consistent. As soon as you start putting into humans, that consistency's out the window, right? So just things to keep in mind as to why sometimes these things are squishy, because there's so many other variables that we can't account for.
For instance, in a study called the Women's Health Study, published in 2005, a group of almost 40,000 women took either a vitamin E supplement or a placebo every other day for 10 years. That is a big study population, which should enable you to see robust results. The rates of cancer and heart disease were unchanged compared to control, but researchers did observe a 24% reduction in heart-related deaths in the group who took the vitamin. Except another study published in 2005, which tracked nearly 4,000 people over 7 years, found that vitamin E supplements increased the risk of heart failure, which would indicate an increased risk of heart-related mortality, the opposite of what the first study showed.
The other thing is, chat, when doing human studies, it's very difficult to get broad populations. So there a lot of times, a fair bit of these studies is easier to do on college students, which tend to be a very homogeneous population of students, especially if it's at these Ivy League universities. There's universities need to work on actually broadening the student population and who they're bringing in, right? Diversity isn't always a thing, and so a lot of these studies don't have all the diversity to account for different groups of people. So having 4,000 people is great, but if it's 4,000 people but 3,000 are all one background and 200 are another and 200 are another, then the next study's opposite. You're going to get really different results.
And such contradictory claims about antioxidant supplements are so common in the field that it's virtually impossible to take the findings of any individual study at face value.
Welcome back, Hugin. Hugin, how was your BRB, my friend?
In fact, a meta-analysis of 78 randomly controlled trials with a combined sample size of almost 300,000 people of various health backgrounds found antioxidant supplements to have no net beneficial effect. The one exception for supplements is that a combination of 3 antioxidants moderately reduced the risk of age-related eye disease, which, yay, it's something, we guess.
Nice, Hugin. I'm glad they came by, my friend. Was it good? A good visit? Did they tell you look handsome as Ferret with the haircut? Because you do.
Despite the lack of reliable evidence for antioxidant supplements, though, many studies have found that people who follow diets containing fruits and vegetables rich in antioxidants have lower incidence of diseases related to oxidative stress. So, we can see benefits from antioxidant supplements in a petri dish, and we can see benefits from antioxidant-rich diets in people, but we can't seem to demonstrate any benefit from antioxidant supplements in people. It could be a simple problem of dosage. We may be over or under administering these antioxidants so they're not doing the job we want. It could also be that our cells compensate for the elevated antioxidant levels from supplements by slowing down their own antioxidant production. So overall, in our bodies, the levels don't change. Or maybe it's just that individual antioxidants are not effective at protecting against disease in large organisms. Instead, we may need a wide variety of antioxidants rather than just one at a time. You know how we said that our bodies use a variety of antioxidants? Naturally, that's true of fruits and veggies too. And that variety might help our bodies deal with the wide variety of free radicals we naturally encounter. Each antioxidant compound acts a little differently. So if someone has an excess of a particular free radical, giving a high dose of the wrong antioxidant could be like giving a Band-Aid to someone with the flu. It's just not the right treatment. It might also be that studying nutrition is just plain hard, and we have a whole video on why that is, which we'll put a link to at the end of the video. Whatever the reason, antioxidant supplements don't have much evidence to recommend them. That's even though we know the chemistry, and even though we know having them in your diet is linked to beneficial effects. Our bodies are complicated, and science is weird about connecting dots sometimes, but that's why we do it, to really know what we know. And right now, we just don't know about those antioxidant pills. Thanks for watching this episode of SciShow. Our amazing patrons help us do what we do every day, and that includes making this video. Thank you to all of our patrons. If you'd like to join them, you can do that at patreon.com/SciShow.
I would like to let them get their plug-in because they make these amazing videos that we get to enjoy and we get to talk about.